Here we are once again for our yoga chill evening. I'm here in the studio tonight. Beautiful sunny day on the West Coast. I hope you got out and enjoyed some of it, if not a lot of it. And now is a chance and a time for you to decompress. So we'll start tonight in a reclined position. So go ahead and lie onto your back. If you have a bolster or blocks or a blanket, feel free to add that underneath the knees. This just helps give a bit of a bend, which releases into the lower back, into your sacrum. So since we want to decompress the spine, the body, the mind, take an opportunity to nestle onto your back, head nice and heavy, left hand on your heart and right hand on your belly. As you close your eyes, you might feel that natural expression to sigh. And where this comes from is just that relationship to the inner dialogue of the body, speaking to the mind, and that releasing mechanism, that ability to soften the outer shell. And we'll start tonight with a few cycles of what's called Viloma breathing, which is 3-part breathing. And what it means by 3-part is with your left hand on your heart, your right hand on your belly. We'll breathe into the right hand, which is your belly hand. Pause. You breathe in about 1/3. Then breathe into the middle of your body, into the chest. Pause. And then breathe the remaining 1/3 throughout. So full capacity breath. Hold at the very top to just create some tension in the body, and then relax the shoulders and release the breath. A nice smooth washing of breath, like you're a wave washing off the shoreline. Then inhale, lower hand. Pause. Inhale, upper hand. Pause. Inhale the remaining space. Hold. Relax the shoulders. Release the bottom hand, upper hand, and the remaining space. We'll do that again. Lower hand, upper hand, the rest of the space, and full exhalation. Empty, empty, empty. Breathe in 1/3 like you're climbing a ladder. Pause. Purposefully breathe in another 1/3. Pause. Breathe in the remaining 1/3. Pause. Relax the shoulders. Release the breath. Keep going. If my count doesn't match yours, go with your 1/3. Pause. The following 1/3. Pause. The following 1/3. Pause. Feel that tension in the body and gradually noticing that dissipate with every cycle. As you continue with this 3-part breathing, recognize where the tension tends to sit, or where maybe it's difficult to breathe into, and focus your attention there. Viloma translates into disruptive breath. So you're disrupting the flow with a purpose of enhancing your inhalation and lengthening out your exhalation. Now, what we've come to know as the exhalation brings a state of calm and stillness. It reduces anxiety, excess tension and stress on the mind or the body. Do one more cycle, purposeful in, purposeful in, purposeful full. And release the breath and simply feel the body. At times when I lie flat on the floor, or maybe the first time today that you've laid right down on a firm surface, feeling the vibration, the energy of the feet, the legs, the hips, the torso, the rib cage, the arms, the hands, the face. Letting any excess dissolve into the backdrop. Taking a moment here as we drop into our practice to honor the land in which you are practicing from today. I practice here in the Coast Salish lands, on the coast of Vancouver, and the connection to the ocean on World Oceans Day today. May we recognize the connection of our oceans to all the land around the world. For the water that laps our shores eventually laps the shores across this great planet. Take a deep breath in and a sigh. Take your arms and reach back behind you for a full body stretch. So you can hook your thumbs together, your palms open towards the ceiling, but hook one thumb to the other and stretch the left side of your waist as long as you can. A little arc through the right hand side. No shortening of the right side, a lengthening of the left. And then gradually pull with your left hand and make your right side longer than your left. As you come back through center, release, pull the elbows down by your sides. Gradually hug one knee into your chest and then the other. As you hold the knees here, just circle the femurs in the hip sockets. As you circle the upper femur bone around, rotation to the one direction. Inviting fluid into these areas if they've been stagnant or overworked, even can build up fluid, not the synovial fluid we want, but the lactic acid fluid build up, and we need to release that as well. So reverse the direction, circling the knees manually with the hands so the legs aren't doing much work here at all, letting the muscles simply roll around on the bone. Then circle your ankles, maybe point and flex your feet. You can go any direction you choose, making sure you hit every direction that's available. And this is where sometimes we don't even realize how tight our feet have become, and our feet are really indicative of our tight hips. So rolling your feet on a ball at night is really beneficial, really helpful as well. Now gradually you'll slide your block or bolster to the side, roll onto one side and come all the way up and come onto all fours. Now before we fully settle into some long holds, we'll just move the spine in a few directions. So from your tabletop position, curl your heart forward, lift your tail to the sky. Big breath in. Then exhale, tuck the tail under, rounding the upper back, chin to chest. Inhale, tilt the tail, lift the rib cage forward, eyes come up, shoulders back. Exhale, rippling through. And that theme and idea and the connection of World Oceans Day, let the wave in your breath be a reminder of the water in your body, the fluid as it moves. Close your eyes and do 2 more. So when you close the eyes, you may feel different connections, whether to the hands or the knees or the feet, or through every articulation of the vertebra, attempting to move each one as independent as possible. Last one. Now we'll flip the feet, tuck the toes for a bit of a foot stretch here. As you sit back towards the heels, push your heels apart from each other so that every toe, especially that pinky toe, starts to come forward. Now you'll go back to your degree and then rest your forearms and your forehead on the floor. Encourage your hips further back and your ribs close to your thighs. Much like lying on our back, we'll take the left hand over on top of the right hand to help also stretch the rib cage open. Deep breath in. Full breath out, pushing your left hip towards the left corner of your mat. One more here. Release the left hand. You might feel the head need to shift to the left side. Tap the right palm on top of your left hand, reaching through the right side of your ribs. A little roll of your hips towards the right back corner of your mat. Deep breath in. Full breath out. Deep breath in. Full breath out. Release the right hand, head back to center. As you lift your chin and your chest, slither forward onto your belly, flipping your feet over to stretch the front line of the body. So from the nose or the forehead on the floor, stretch through the tops of your feet until the knees lift up. This long front body, your hands pressing into the floor, try to pull your hands towards your hips, creating a little more length in your lower back. And begin to articulate into a small cobra. Inhale, releasing, exhale. Lifting up, inhale. Releasing down, exhale. One more. Then tuck your toes under, press up and back into a puppy dog position, deep stretch for the sides of the waist and the ribs. We'll lift just long enough into downward facing dog to walk the feet halfway up the mat to about the middle and widen your feet to the left and the right edges of the mat. Now you may want to block here. You may want something to lean into if the floor feels far. Let your torso dangle for a moment, bend your knees. And then straighten your right leg as much as you can, keeping your torso heavy and forward. Bend your left knee a little more and a little more. You'll feel the hip want to shift over to the left side. Be mindful that your left knee doesn't fall in. Keep the knee tracking with your toes. Then lift up halfway, straighten both legs. Exhale, straight down, soften the knees, forward fold, this wide-legged straddle. It's modified because we're a little bit inward with feet closer together, I should say. Then straighten your left leg, bend your right knee. Deep inhalation, full exhalation. Let the head go. Know that the head is also connected, so we want to let that tension dissolve, let the jaw relax. Deep breath. Lift halfway, Both legs even and equal. Soften the knees, bow forward. Now from here, we're going to climb up the fronts of the shins or the thighs, or ragdoll your way up, whatever feels better. So if you tend to have sensitivities in the spine, you'll want to walk up with a straight spine. If it's okay to round, just go vertebra by vertebra, that wave in the spine coming all the way up. When you reach the top, we'll spin the toes out, the heels slightly in. Going back to a connection in the hip joint here, taking left hand or right hand on top of left. You can hug it into a fist and bend into that left knee again. And this time pull your hips back, circle around to the right, like we've done in Happy Hips many times. You'll be familiar if you've been there. Gliding across and then over to the other side. Again, getting that rotation through the hip joint, feeling what you feel. And we don't want to impinge. If we feel pain, sharpness, we back away. If we feel tension, we might want to move in. Let's do one more this direction. And then switch the hands. So a light right hand, left hand on top, light fist, bend your right knee. Direction of the toes, cross over, lift the toes if it's available. That's really great for practicing our balance, our weight front to back, left to right. Smooth and steady with the breath, knowing that the diaphragm is moving with every breath, which is pulling also on the muscles of the psoas into the hip joint, our iliacus. Pause at the top. Bring your hands onto your hips and turn your left toes in and your right toes out. Now we can feel we have some shift in the hips available here. Then we'll do a short triangle. So the stance is quite close, closer than you might normal. And you'll tuck your right sitting bone or right hip under and rock your body until both sides are equal. Front knee has a soft bend in it, so it's active. Back of the hand to the inner knee, left arm to the sky. You can look in any direction here for 3. Full breath, feeling that left side opening up. Push through your left heel a little further, a little further. As you press down through both feet, come all the way back up. Take the hands onto your hips, pivot your right foot in and your left foot out. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So feel the left hip has some freedom. Notice how it might want to go back. Try and tuck the tail under and go to the side. So your right hip goes to your right heel and then left palm open, right arm to the sky. We'll stay here for 3 breath cycles. Keep that breath moving. On the 3rd breath, you'll come all the way back up, both feet anchored. Pivot the toes slightly in, heels slightly out. And now we're just going to hinge forward. So as the heart comes forward, like an airplane, you're diving down, hips come back. So I want the hips to move behind the knees, and the knees can have a soft bend. They're moving behind your toes. So we don't want the knees driving forward. We want the knees pulling back. At about halfway, hands come just onto the fronts of the knees or below on the shins. Take a breath. Pull your big toes towards each other and begin to slide all the way down. Now, when you reach your limit, pause. You can always bend the knees a little more. Let the head go. Reach around, catch the calf muscles or the backs of the ankles or the backs of the heels. Give your head a yes nod and a gentle no shake. Pull the toes in, the heels press out, and roll your shoulders away from your ears actively. Two more breaths. And as you release the backs of the heels, lift up halfway and simply toe heel your feet together. As the toes come in to meet, open the heels so there's space between the heels inside, and the heels are about as wide as your pinky toes. Now again, you can have a block here, no problem. Finding some balance. We're going to lift the heels and start to bend the knees, sitting into a little kind of perched position, like we were going to set up for an arm balance, but we're not going there. We're just checking in with mobility in the feet, extension, and compression a little bit into the knees. So go as far as comfortable for you. If you can sit all the way down, by all means, feel free to do so. If that's too much, don't force it. Bring the knees down in front. Lift the hips back up to the sky. Release your heels to the floor. Sit back in your heels, lift your toes. So again, if you've got a block, you can still be balancing here. This is working that extension of the back of the leg, the calf muscle, as well as the hamstring. Sometimes we forget that our calves can get very, very tight. So in this halfway lift, you're going to tip forward onto the mounds of the feet, lift the heels, and go back down into a low squat. You might stay here. You might go down a little further. So that's a big degree of shift. Choose one. So wherever you are, start to lift the hips, release the heels, tip back in your heels, lift the mounds of the feet, not just the toes. See if you can lift the mounds up. If that's a lot, just work with toes, but keep working back. Deep bend in the knees is needed. Then feet go back to flat, and we'll move that block if it's there and come down onto all fours. As you land onto all fours, the front of the hip crease might be really tight from that. So we're going to stretch it out first. So first pull your hips forward, keep your toes tucked, and just reach your limit. This might be your limit, this might be your limit, this might be your limit. You choose where that limit is, and then pull your hips back, and it's like a bigger cat-cow variation. Lift up the back of the spine, big wave on World Ocean Day. Exhale, lifting up. Shoulders come back. Inhale, lift the tail. Stretching also the bottoms of the feet. Push your heels away from center. Articulate up and arc open. Pull the chest forward, the shoulders back. We'll just do one more like that. Big wave. And last one. This time, as your thighs come down, you'll flip your feet over and lower the whole torso down to the floor. Hips from side to side. Releasing that excess tension. Now we're going to stretch the front of the right leg to start. So come up onto your forearms. That's a bit of a back bend, a bit of a mini cobra, or what's known as Sphinx pose. Bend your right knee, and if you have a strap, feel free to hook a strap and hold the strap over your shoulder. If you can reach the foot, grab the outside. As you grab the outside, begin to lower your heart down. As the heart comes down, you're pulling the foot closer, and you can place the left cheek down or the forehead down on your hand. And if you have the access without the knee swinging out, reach around, maybe hold the top of the foot. And again, now we're pointing, getting extension through the foot, through the toes. It's also stretching the front of the shin. Breathe here for 5. Think about pressing your right hip bone down towards the floor. So wherever the foot is in space, if it's far, if it's close, the more you push your hip down, the more you engage the front of that right quadricep. One more breath here. As you release the foot, take your right arm out to the side, or sorry, your left arm out to the side. Bring your right hand under your shoulder and look over your right side. Now from here, we'll just do a little scorpion tail. So you'll bend that knee again, but this time with freedom, kick it up and back, and we'll just stretch the front of the pectoral, the front of the chest. Now the toes can hover. Now I'm near a wall, so I can push into the wall, or I might reach for the floor. And if you can reach the floor, don't just drop into the floor. In fact, try to point the knee up and open just a little further. And you can lift and adjust the head so it's comfortable on the neck. Feel for your breath all the way down to that 3-part. Remember the belly, the chest, the whole capacity. Two more breaths here. And this pectoral stretch can sometimes induce a cough because the tightness in our chest is holding in our throat. As you come back around, release at the center. Take a moment with your hands stacked, rest your head, deep breath in. Sighing breath out. Come up onto forearms. Bend the left knee, cross it over. If you've got a strap, hook the foot, hold the strap. If you can reach the foot, hold the foot, but try not to swing the knee way out to the side to catch it. If you do, just bring it closer in. And then coming down to your forehead lands, or your right cheek comes down. Sometimes just turning the head can give us a slightly different expression as the muscles connect down the back of the spine from the base of the skull down to that outer hip, the front of the quadricep. As you pull the foot in closer, to whatever degree, push your hip down into the floor with an equal expression. And this will deepen the front of that quadricep, the belly of the quadricep muscle. You can wrap the toes if you want to work that pointed extension. One more breath. As you release the foot, stack the hands for a moment. Take your right arm straight out to the right side. Look to your left hand under your shoulder, and you'll just bend the left knee, and this time let the whole torso roll open. I don't have the wall on this side, but you'll see the toes will reach around towards the floor. If they touch the floor, we're not dropping the knee. In fact, open the knee a little further just to create an opening up of the front of that left hip crease. It's not about force. Remembering that the ocean has reminded us, the water reminds us to be strong, but also to be soft. And that as we learn to move together, that we truly become one. One more full breath cycle here. And as you unwind and unwrap around through center, stack your hands for a moment. Release the legs, release the hips, the jaw, front of the chest. And take your hands under your shoulders when you're ready. Press up to all fours. Now we're going to work with a virasana. So that's knees together, feet open. Think heels apart, but not sickling the toes in. So we don't want the heels to fall in. We don't want them to fall out. We want the feet fairly straight and the width roughly of a block between your heels. If you have a block, I suggest using it. If you don't have a block, then a cushion or a pillow will do. If this is too low, by all means, stack what you need. So if you need to be even higher, come up even higher, giving yourself that space. What can be really nice if accessible, so if you're on one block, bolster around behind you, you can lean into your bolster. As you lean back, tuck the tail, press down through the knee points, and then lower your hips slowly down as you go slowly so you feel the depth of the stretch here. If you feel twinging in your knees, then take whichever leg that is out. Just do one. If you have the access to do both, stick with me here. Otherwise, stay with one, similar fashion, maybe to elbows. Having the bolster just gives us a place to go. We can stay right here and thinking about drawing your tail towards the front of your mat. So you might lift and lower again. When we lift, we tuck that tail slightly down. If it's okay on the head and neck, you can let the head fall back. If you think you have more space available, maybe you go elbows to the floor. Maybe you go shoulders and head onto your bolster. And then you can take a variation with your arms. But again, these are all degrees. I show these because I can't see where you're at, but I know that you know your limit. Trust that you know. Just as water knows it needs to find a way, the path of least resistance, though, still has resistance. Just a few more breaths here. There's an element to this pose that gets uncomfortable. Let it be subtly uncomfortable without being painful. Know the difference. Trust that you know when it's time to come out. Push the knees and the shins, the feet down into the floor. Elbow, elbow. Coming up, hand, hand. To release, come forward. As you come forward, so whether you were just upright during that entire time, you will release the blood flow into the lower limbs, the lower legs. Such a great healing pose Virasana is. Now we'll take its sister pose, which is saddle. Now at this one, the big toes come together, the knees open. Many people find this a little bit more accessible because we're tighter in our hips, so the knees want to open. Let's stay here, not too wide with the knees. Hands can come back. And again, with your bolster, you could go full length behind you. And again, this one might feel a little more accessible. Lift the tail, tuck the flesh of your bum ahead of your knees, and then perhaps going back to elbow and full length of your spine onto a bolster, or a couple blocks could also work here. And again, if this is not accessible with both legs folded, maybe it's accessible with one, you do one side, maybe you do the other. Maybe you stay upright. I know from experience that the ego gets in the way. We feel like we have to go back. But knowing and trusting your body and its deeply embedded intuition from our gut to our heart, to our lungs, to our brain, all working to create the balanced system Let your muscles speak to you. Let your tendons speak to you. These are all connected to the nerves of our central system. Breathe deeply here, soothing the system. 2 more breaths. Push the shins down slightly. Feel how you can increase the stretch or relax the legs to decrease that stretch. You might already just be up on the hands. This is plenty. Stay here. That radiant sun warming the body. Come all the way back up. Come onto all fours. Bring the knees together. That's a lot for the upper legs. We don't need to stay long to start to invite that space. You'll make your way here onto your back. Now with coming onto your back, similar to how we started, you'll take a bolster or block underneath, a bolster or blocks, or a rolled up blanket would also do. And as you lie back, with your head at neutral, head heavy, bring the right knee into your chest, give it a squeeze. Straight in towards the ribs, then release it away and then squeeze it in towards the center of your chest. And this is a little pinchy in the front of your hip, or your right hip. Not much I know for me. So release it away, don't force, squeeze out wide to the right side. And certain squeezed angles will feel this more. Now take your right ankle on top of your left thigh and steer open. From here, we'll take a threading of the needle. So you can stay right here as you are. If you're already feeling this. Option 2, take your foot onto your bolster. Use your right hand to steer your knee open without forcing the knee. Think this is coming from the femur. Option 3, reach through, catch the back of your thigh and use your right elbow to nudge your right thigh open. Relax the lower left leg, even kind of bounce the left ankle a couple times. Breathe here, fully in, fully out, shoulders back. Close your eyes and float through your body on the waves of breath. When intensity is coming to that outer hip, rather than back away from it, stay with it. Doesn't mean force it further. Just see if you can use the breath to dissipate the extra tension you might feel here. This is a very classic piriformis stretch, and it is because it works, because it's a place to be. Now for the last part here, wherever you are, whether the foot is down or you're holding the back of the thigh, I want you to reach up, catch your right foot and your shin, and you'll hold the outer ankle, make sure there's flexion in your right foot, and you're just going to rock your leg across your body. Crossing over and then out to the side. Crossing over and out to the side. And we're just asking for some movements, for some opening here. Deep releases. Release from here, your left foot to the floor. Spin your right knee around. Hug it in towards center, or sorry, your right shoulder. So straight up, release it. Hug it towards the center of your chest. Release it. What you might notice, what I'm noticing, is there's less tension on those squeezes this time around. You might still feel it, but it's lessened. It's released slightly. Let that right leg come down and let it go fully to rest on the bolster or block under your right thigh, just for a moment. A lot of this releasing is also in your head, your jawline, your neck, your shoulders. When we pay attention to the symptom in the body, we sometimes miss the reason. So we focus only on where we feel it rather than on what's actually causing it. Bring the left knee in, your right foot to flat. Hug the knee to the left shoulder. Release it. Hug it to the center of your chest. A little pinch. Release it. Outer rib cage. Release it. Flex your foot. Cross the ankle over the thigh and open up the femur. Without rushing, feel this side. Lefts and rights, sun and moon, equal opposition. One lights the other. Without one, we wouldn't know the other. Gradually, maybe bring your right foot onto the bolster, steer the femur open. Perhaps reach through the legs and pick up the back of the thigh. Hug in if the tail is lifting. Release it down if your head lifted to catch. Release it down, shoulders back. Breathe fully. The simplest of movements can create the most profound effects. Let this wave of breath be a continuing cycle, like every drop in the ocean, finding its way to every shoreline on this planet. We're so quick to create division, to see the separation, that we forget how connected it all is. Letting your body be in this connection, letting your breath connect the dots. Two more here. Now you'll release the foot and catch the upper shin. And remember that rocking from side to side. In a way that keeps you curious about what you're feeling, what's showing up. Do one more here. And as you swing the knee back around, hug it in and up towards your left shoulder. Hug it in and up towards the center of your chest. Hug it out towards your left shoulder. And then release it fully. Let the leg go long and relax it onto the bolster block blanket that you're resting on. Deep breath in. Full breath out. And we'll use this time while we're still on our back to just lift our hips and slide a block or a blanket or a bolster under your hips. So your hips are now higher than your heart. letting there be this sort of natural drainage from the bottom to the top. You know, our body recycles our blood every minute of every day from the top to the bottom to the top. And the more oxygen we breathe, the more clearing and cleansing and detoxifying we can offer the disease in the body. We all have some disease, whether it's a pain point, a bruise, you know, you stubbed your toe or you cut your finger, or maybe it's more serious or more into your spine and compression, perhaps into the joints or lack of mobility or arthritis. There's so many things going on in our bodies. Giving them this time, honoring the stillness. Deep breath in, deep breath out. Really, really slowly, I want you to slide your left heel in. You might feel, if your hands are on your hips like mine, you might feel that hip flexor activate. Slide the heel in as close as you can to the block or the bolster, then slide your right heel in. Feel those hip flexors are turned off. If they're still on like little ropes in the front of your hips, then massage them a bit here. These are really connected to the reptilian brain and our fight or flight response. So if we're under a lot of stress, this could be on all the time. And it's time to teach this area to release. So I want you to use your abdominal wall here rather than the hip flexors, and draw the navel towards the spine, a little bit of a drawing under of your tail, like if you had a long monkey tail between your knees, and then lift your left heel without using your hip flexor. So letting that muscle in front be relaxed. So no psoas, no iliacus, just the muscles of your abdominal wall firing. And if it didn't quite happen, and you right away jump to lift the leg, then press down through the toes and see how you can use some pressure to lift and lower, lift and lower. Go to the other side. Pull the heel in, little tuck of the tail, engaging the abdominal wall, lift the heel, lower, lift the heel, lower, one more. Now lift the left heel. Now keep the heel lifted and reach for the leg, and you might hold the pants, you might grab part of the leg, and you're going to pull that knee in with using as little energy of the front of that hip as possible. Let it stay relaxed. And you'll kick that heel up towards the sky and push the leg away from you. So you're not holding here. I want you to take your thumb into your hip crease and release that hip flexor if it's on. If it's tight, release it. Relax your ankle. Deep breath in. Smooth breath out. Now keep the left leg up. Reach for your right leg. Lift the heel. Pull it in. Try not to use that hip flexor. Kick your heel up to the sky. Push the leg away from you. So it's even and equal in waterfall here with the other leg. Relax. Thumb into that hip crease. Massage that hip crease. It's easy to go back into tension. We're built for it. We're built to respond. We're built to react. Our work here is to settle the reaction, to slow the moment, or even notice where you react or where the muscle jumps, and then turn it off. And the more we do that, the less it wants to fire every time, especially when it's really not needed. Keep the feet hovering here for about 3 more breaths. It's like they're floating in space, and almost like you forget that they're up there until they start to fall out of the sky, and then you catch and you feel the muscle catch and lift it back up. Now really gradually, as slowly as you brought the legs up, I want you to bring the knees into your chest. A little bit of that lift in your tail will feel a little tighter in here, but letting the blood flow come back to the lower limbs. Really slowly, using your hands as you need to, release the feet to the floor. Try not to jump back to fight or flight. Release those hips. Slide your bolster out from underneath, your blocks, whatever you've got, and release your tail. Let your knees fall in and walk your feet wide. This will also help to release your sacrum, your lower back. Take a deep breath here. And a sigh. I'd like to finish tonight in a unique front-sided Shavasana. If you're feeling really good here, by all means, stay here. Trust your intuition. If you're with me to try on this front-sided variation, you can roll onto one side, roll up a blanket, a block, or grab that bolster, bring it around, and you'll lay on top of the bolster right into the middle part of your rib cage. You might need to adjust so that it's comfortable. But this I found really effective because it does stretch the inner line of the body, the inner torso, and opens up our mid back, where a lot of tension we hold is up in our upper mid back. Your arms are ahead of the bolster or the blocks or the towel or blanket, pillows, whatever you've got, and you're just lifted with your heart away from the floor. And as you breathe here, you'll feel that you can't breathe easily into the front of your body, so it might feel a little restricted. But gradually and over time, you'll breathe more into your back. So we're going to practice just about 5 cycles of 8 count breathing. Now, if 8 count feels too long, go to 6 or 7, but keep stretching your breath here. Ujjayi, slow, steady. So take a breath in, sigh it away. Now slow sipping through the nose for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. At the very top, relax the shoulders and exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Pause. Feel the shift of wave of breath. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do 2 more on your own. In and out. Whether you're on your front side or your back side, you're allowing the breath to settle here, to let it go, to let it all go. Like a drop floating in the ocean. A single drop becomes the ocean. Feel the abundance.
And gradually, if this feels good, you'll stay here as long as you like. If you're ready to come off that front body or to roll to one side off your back, you'll simply stretch back. If you're from front body to child's pose, you can use that bolster if you like. You're on your side, you'll gradually make your way back into a tall seated position. With your eyes closed, bring your hands to greet at heart center. Offering through the wave of your breath a connection to mind, body, through breath. Sigh it away. Bow your head to your heart. Namaste.